Yes, what's new, YouTubers? We are back again with another video here at My Story. So we are back again with another video, League of Nations. Wow, League of Nations. People can form organization. We have our general objectives there, understand to what extent the League of Nations was a success or a failure. We really have no time to elaborate more on those objectives. It's very clear. We have our specific objectives there, discuss the successes and the failures of the League of Nations in the 1920s. Just as we said at the beginning, at the end of this video you should be able to explain the successes of the League, explain the failures of the League. So we have our success, our first success of the League of Nations in the 1920s. So we are just going to go through this because the video is out of 15 minutes and we have to, chop, make it quick. So event number 1, the dispute over the Åland island during the period of 1921. Countries that were involved were Sweden and Finland. Conflict or the disagreement was both countries wanted to control the Åland island because it lied between the two countries. The actions or the decisions that were made by the League of Nations was that Finland should administer the islands. The interests of the Swedish inhabitants on the islands should be protected by the League. So we move on to our second event. So this success, we don't really need to elaborate more on it. What you really need to know is the keywords. So we have our second event there, the dispute about Upper Silesia during the period of 1921. The countries that were involved were Germany and Poland. The conflict or disagreement was Upper Silesia had rich natural resources and a mixed German and Polish population. Actions of the League or the decisions that were made by the League of Nations was that Upper Silesia should be divided between Germany and Poland. The League should treat Upper Silesia as an economic unit and supervise its interest for the next 15 years. So there's no need for me to go through those events. All you need to know is the keywords. So we go back. We have our third event, which is the dispute over Memel 1921. Countries that were involved were Germany and Lithuania. The conflict or the disagreement was that the terms of the Treaty of Versailles put Memel under the administration of the League of Nations. Meanwhile, it was still to be decided whether Memel should become part of Lithuania. Many Germans also lived there. Let's see now the decisions that were made by the League of Nations. Lithuania received Memel, which became an international zone. So we have our fourth event there, which is a war between Greek and Bulgaria during the period of 1921, and the countries that were involved were Germany and Bulgaria. Conflict in 1925, Greek soldiers took control of Bulgaria because a Greek soldier was killed while protecting the border between the two countries. Let's now look at the decisions or the actions that were taken by the League of Nations. The League ordered the two countries to stop fighting and found Greek guilty, and Greek had to pay reparations to Bulgaria. So we were looking at the successes of the League of Nations during the period of 1920s. Now we move on to look at the economic and social successes of the League of Nations. economic and social successes. The League was much more successful with economic and social problems. The League improved the health conditions worldwide by sending doctors and nurses and distributing medicines to affected areas, and educating people about the dangers of addictive substances like drugs. The League helped refugees who were affected by the First World War as well as with their resettlement. Well, you're probably wondering why I'm smiling, or the reason why I'm always smiling, why I'm always like this. Well, I love what I'm doing, man. So we go to economic and social success. 3. In 1922, the League of Nations helped Austria to recover its economic position by giving it a loan of $20 million. A League Commission supervised Austria's economic and financial affairs. In 1926, the League's commission was withdrawn when Austria's financial position had improved. Hang in there, I know. Economic and social successes. Number 4. The League of Nations provided humanitarian aid for Greece in 1923 when they were driven out of Smyrna by the Turks. Cholera and typhoid broke out, so the League sent doctors to bring the deadly diseases under control. Refugees were helped by providing homes for them and helping them improve their living conditions. Still at the economic and social success of the League of Nations. 5. In 1925, the League formed a slavery commission to stop slave trading and slavery of all kinds, such as contract labor. So in other words, contract labor had to be abolished because it was a form of slavery. Okay, now historians, we were looking at the successes of the League of Nations during the period of 1920s, and then we also looked at the economic and social successes of the League of Nations. Now we are moving on to the failures of the League of Nations in the 1920s. Let us take a closer look at the following examples where the League failed and the reasons for the failure. Failures of the League of Nations. First, you just have to know them. War between Poland and Russia, 1920, period of 1921. War between Greece and Turkey, 1921 to the period of 1922. The Ra occupation, 1923. The Corfu incident, 1923. Very simple. Okay, now we are looking at failures of the League of Nations. A. War between Poland and Russia. You learned earlier how new independent state Poland was formed by the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. It was declared that Poland's boundary with Russia should be the Curzon Line, named after Lord Curzon of Britain. The Poles did not accept this arrangement because they wanted more land in the east than they were allowed to have. So what happened? In 1920, the Poles attacked the Russians and forcefully occupied an area called White Russia. The Russians fought back and the Poles fled back to Warsaw, Poland's capital city. The Poles again counterattacked the Russians and many Russian soldiers were killed or captured. So in 1921, the Russian government accepted and signed the Treaty of Riga. This treaty gave more land to Poland. By refusing to obey the terms of the Treaty of Versailles and the League of Nations, Poland was able to increase its size. Do you see what is happening here? Poland is just doing whatever that they want to Russia. So we really don't have time to elaborate on these events. So we move. Event B, War between Greek and Turkey, 1921 to the period of 1922. In Unit 2, Section 4, you learned how the Treaty of Sevres affected people and eventually led to the breaking up of the Turkish Empire. In 1920, King Constantine I of Greece continued to take control of more Turkish land. The Turkish port of Smyrna was already controlled by the Greeks. Mustafa Kemal, the revolutionary new Turkish leader, blocked the Greeks at the Sakarya River. The Greeks were totally defeated by the Turks at the Battle of Sakarya, which continued for 3 weeks. A year later, Turkish soldiers attacked Smyrna and drove out millions of Greek civilians. Allied leaders decided to negotiate with the Kemal. The Treaty of Sevres had to be cancelled because it was too unfair according to Kemal. In 1923, the Treaty of Lausanne replaced the Treaty of Sevres. This treaty allowed Turkey to get back most of the land. The Dardanelles was again put under Turkish control and all occupying Allied troops had to be withdrawn from the country. The Paris Peace Settlement and League of Nations had been disregarded again. We see what is happening. The League of Nations is just failing, So we move. Okay. C. The Ra occupation, 1923. In 1921, the Allied leaders decided that the reparation that the Germans had to pay was £600 million. The Germans did not want to pay such a huge amount of money and claimed that the German was not able to do so. The French and the Belgians rejected this claim and decided to force Germany to pay. In 1923, French and Belgian soldiers occupied the Ruhr, Germany's richest industrial region. Coal was taken as part of the reparations that Germany had to pay. The German workers protested against what happened in the Ruhr. Germany reacted by printing millions of banknotes to pay workers their wages. This resulted in massive inflation and made the mark or the German currency lose its buying power. The German government faced serious financial problems and the strike was called off. France and Belgium received some of the coal from Germany. The Dawes Plan was introduced in 1924 to help Germany pay her reparation. In 1925, French and Belgian soldiers returned to their own countries. These countries, France and Belgium, had shown once more that they had no respect for and trust in the League by simply ignoring its rule. Remember that the forefathers or the people that really came up with the League of Nations was Britain and France. So eventually they could do anything they wanted because it is their organization. Yes, that's how we do it here at Mystory. So if you don't understand anything, just send me an email. From there then we go. Failures of the League of Nations, the last incident, D, the Corfu incident. In 1923, a warring event called the Corfu incident took place. A conference of ambassadors from Britain, France, Italy, Japan were working on border problems between Greece and Albania, which had not been settled at the Paris Peace Conference. An Italian general and soldiers were killed while investigating the problem. The Jew dictator of Italy, Mussolini, grabbed the opportunity to show how weak the League of Nations was. So if I'm too fast, you just pause and then you take that note. So we move. Okay, so historians were looking at the League of Nations, the success of the League of Nations during the period of 1920s, and its economic and social success and also the failures. So end of our discussion until we upload another video. See you when you see me doing what I love.